It's just a quick video, well, I say a quick video. It's just a short video on my demo impressions of Red Faction Armageddon, which is, I don't know if it's the exact direct sequel to Guerrilla, but it's in the Red Faction franchise. So yeah, the demo came out today along with Pirates of the Caribbean Lego, but I'm not really into the film, so the Lego doesn't really appeal to me. And of course it came out on the same day as the Black Ops DLC. I'll probably do videos on my thoughts on some of the maps, because I honestly think some of the maps on that are pretty dodgy designed, if you ask me. They don't really feel I'm trying to think of the word. They don't really feel accustomed or, that well built for a game such as Black Ops. They feel more like, I don't know, like it almost feels like some of the maps are dragged out of Homefront. It's an odd thing to say, but I'll explain why later. So anyway, the demo starts off with this cutscene. Everyone in the cutscene has terrible aim. The voiceovers are a little bit suspect, if I'm honest. They don't really impress me. I mean, if we're talking action adventure game type voiceovers, then the top end really is Uncharted 2 and Uncharted 1. And two games have such fantastic voice acting, and thus everything else I have to compare it to that, because that is a top-notch voice acted game. And so far in this demo of Armageddon, the voice acting just comes off as a little bit stale, a little bit forced, almost awkward, if you will. I mean, some of the lines and dialogue just seem weird, out of place almost. That's just my opinion, obviously. You guys might kind of disagree, but personally I just think the voiceovers in this aren't very strong, and if it's going to be trying to carry on a story-driven game, then yeah, you could have some issues when you've got voice acting this lame. So as you can see, the first couple of, I think about 2 minutes, you're introduced to two guns, one being this nade launcher, which fires in like almost a mine thing which attaches to a surface or enemy. You have to detonate by pressing X. This weapon is also able to be sort of used to destroy any scenery. One big thing about the Red Faction franchise has always been how destructive you can be in the game's world, and Guerrilla was a fantastic case of this. The first game, Red Faction, which was a first-person shooter back on the PS2, PC, I think it was on GameCube as well, and Xbox perhaps. They really did, I remember them very well. They were so much fun, because you could build tunnels, especially in multiplayer. One of my friends used to come over at my house, and there was a map where it was just two bases in the canyon, and you could build a tunnel to the canyon, the other base in the canyon. It was just so much fun. So the destructive elements really do play a lot in the gameplay of Red Faction games, and this demo, it doesn't really showcase it all that well. You can see that there is the gameplay element there, but the demo doesn't really sort of make the most of it, which it kind of is a little bit disappointing, considering it's a Red Faction game and this demo is supposed to be selling me to buy this game. I'm supposed to want to buy after this, but like I said, the gameplay element is there, it is present. I have no doubt in the full version it'll be taking a bit more of a primary objective, but for now in this demo you don't really get to fiddle around with the destructive engine all that much. So as you can see, I'm just bumming around here on this level with a couple of weapons. The weapons themselves don't really feel all that unique. There's one that fires this big portal thing, that's kind of cool, it drags everything in, but other than that you've got this magnet gun, which I literally have no idea what to do with it. I played the demo 2 or 3 times, I still haven't got a clue what it does, so I give up with that. There's also assault rifle, which is hardly unique, so there is the mine thing, as I've mentioned, and that black hole gun weird thing, which is pretty cool. I admit, I quite thought that was pretty sweet. As well as this, you also get this weird bash attack. Well, I'll say bash attack, it's almost like a skill which propels the enemies away from you. Can't really say much about that. Okay, thanks. I suppose it makes sense, even though it would have made more sense if you guys sort of gestured towards them, like punched them away, but the punch was powered and flew them away like that. That would be a bit more cooler than just tap on, boom, you're flying back. The gameplay itself, third-person shooter, it doesn't really, so far in the demo, I mean, at least from what I can tell from the demo, it's just kind of bog standard third person. It plays a little bit like a Dead Space 2. It's very smooth. The combat mixes well with the gameplay. The sensitivity, on default that is pretty spot on. Your guy moves very naturally and fluid. You don't tend to get stuck on any sort of objects. Everything flows well. It's satisfactory. I mean, I can be sitting there going, "Oh, this is the most fluent gameplay ever." It just flows well, which is what you pretty much want. The combat itself, again, I know I'm going to make quite a lot of Dead Space 2 comparisons here, but I'll explain why, maybe towards the end of later. But the gameplay, like the gunplay itself, is very reminiscent to Dead Space 2, and that's not a bad thing, it's always a good thing. So you'd be pretty much picking up weapons, popping them off with ease, popping that weird magnet gun. So yeah, the enemies, yeah, I'm going to say it again, Dead Space 2. They remind me a lot of Dead Space 2. They tend to jump on the walls and climb on the walls. It's kind of cool that they're not just charging straight towards you, that they're using the environment as well. That's pretty neat, but unfortunately the AI at some points just tends to look a bit dumb. I mean, there's a couple of cases where, not I've recorded, I've played it 3 or 4 times in demo, but I've only recorded one session. There was one case where one of the enemies was just sort of standing there, it was just like standing still, not doing anything. Even when I shot it a couple of times, it just stood there, and I was like, okay. And one of them just teleported and jumped around anywhere. It just didn't attack us, it just teleported, jumped around, happy as Larry, which was kind of odd. But yeah, so we've covered the enemies, we've covered the gameplay, the story. I'm not really going to talk about the story, it's a demo. The story doesn't really take much precedent in a demo. One of the features you'll say he's using this is the Forge thing. I think it's called the Neo Forge, and it's got this ability to rebuild obstacles and the structures. It's kind of cool. In the demo, it feels a bit more of a gimmick, but I have seen gameplay footage from PAX, I believe it was, where if you watch the Spoonie experiment, I think he covered PAX, and he did a, I think it was about a 15-minute video on this, and it showed quite a bit of gameplay. And the Neon Forge seems to work a bit more there. You got more freedom later on in the game. In the demo, it comes off as a little bit as a gimmick because you're only using it like 3 or 4 times, and all that is just to construct a bit of a bridge in front of you, and it doesn't really feel as unique as you would expect it to, nor does it feel really groundbreaking in any way. Again, it just feels a little bit gimmicky. But like I said, it's a demo. The gameplay footage I've seen from later levels and trailers and gameplay videos does show that you get a little bit more freedom, perhaps a lot more freedom. I can't really tell until I hopefully get a review copy of the full game or pick it up. So yeah, comes off as a little bit gimmick, the Neon Forge. As you can see, the combat, just in its nature, as I mentioned before, Red Faction's always been very focused on the destruction of environment and the interactivity with the environment. And you know, the demo does, as I mentioned before, it doesn't really show it as a huge gameplay element, but when you're in a firefight or just a battle with an enemy, there's things pouring down around you. It kind of adds to the atmosphere. It's one thing I will say, the combat may not be this fresh, groundbreaking thing, but much like Dead Space 2, it's very satisfying and it's not repetitive. Unfortunately, the weapons don't really interest me as much as, let's say, I keep saying it a lot, I apologise, as much as Dead Space 2. Now, as you can see, environment itself in the demo, the environments are all very dark, dingy, there's not a lot of colour, it doesn't really allow to show off any sort of graphical flair, which is a little bit of a shame. The game looks very dark and brown, sort of Gears of War 1-ish. When there was that period when the Xbox 360 was kind of new, and games like Gears of War and Dark Sector were just whoring out these dark, dingy colours, it was quite depressing then, and I seriously hope we don't go back to it, because this game seems to be doing it. But at the same time, towards the end of the demo, you're in a marketplace, and it looks quite cool, almost Total Recall, like if you've ever seen the old Schwarzenegger film. And that's very much appreciated, because I love that film. So yeah, as I said, the environments aren't all that great. You'd be going around sort of sci-fi cliche steel grate buildings and shit like that, pipes steaming, mines with these huge crystals in. but not a whole lot of colour, unfortunately. One thing I will say is the enemies do sort of look kind of cool. Again, they look a bit Dead Space 2-ish, but more traditional Alien-ish, if you know what I mean. They have like these bright colours sparking out of them. Like there's red guys who are a bit more melee focused, and these blue guys that fire lightning. Well, I think it's lightning. It looks kind of cool. There's also these little head crab type things which don't really have much purpose. Now, one of the things I wasn't really expecting in this demo is they do have a little bit of nod towards an upgrade system which will be linked with the single player and the multiplayer. So if you upgrade a weapon or a skill in single player, it'll carry on to your multiplayer profile. That's a pretty cool idea. But unfortunately, that also does beg the question is, what happens if someone finds a bug or perhaps a glitch, or just replays the same level, which rewards a lot of experience points on, let's say, easy, and does that over and over again? You may find that perhaps it sort of unbalances the multiplayer. I don't know, we'll have to wait and see, and kind of cross our fingers that it doesn't, and that the multiplayer demo comes out and sort of, you know, offers some sort of counterbalance to this. Another thing I will say in the demo is pluses. Yeah, pluses. I've said the graphics aren't all that great. That's fair enough. It could be better in the full version. This demo only really takes place in underground, and you can't really do a whole lot other than the Total Recall style buildings, which I kind of dig. The gameplay is satisfactory. It is quite fluent, but it's nothing groundbreaking. I think I hate using this term, more casual gamers might find it a little bit repetitive. That's totally fine. The Neo Forge does come off as a little bit of a gimmick in this demo, but again, as I referenced before, it may allow more freedom in the full version. So yeah, and the enemies, again, Dead Space 2-ish, but they do sort of offer a bit more of a traditional battle against the aliens theme. What we'll say about the demo is, especially towards the end, you get this big mech suit, and that's when the demo really sort of showcases its beef and possibility of fun, because that's just running down, blowing shit up, and that's really what Red Faction game is all about. So overall, my impressions of the demo, not brilliant, but not bad. We'll say satisfactory, and definitely potential for a decent game. And I hope that, you know, when it comes out, it's not a sleeper hit. I hope it's a hit and it provides a decent experience. Unfortunately, at this moment in time, I don't see it being a full price game. I wouldn't pay £40 for this in its current stage, judged by the demo. But, you know, you never know. If it was on sale, then I probably would be buying it. So again, thanks for watching this video. If you play the demo, leave your feedback, what your thoughts are, any memories of the Red Faction franchise on a whole. If you like the switch from first person to third person, if you like this switch from human enemies to more alien enemies, and if you agree with my kind of sort of sense that when I was playing this whole demo, I couldn't stop thinking of Dead Space 2. So yeah, that's Red Faction Armageddon. I think it comes out at the end of the month. I'm not entirely sure. I haven't been following the development of this all that off much, to be honest. All I know is that it comes out soon, and there's a sci-fi show on the Sci-Fi Channel based on I think it's called Gorilla. So yeah, thanks for watching. If you like this kind of thing, I'll probably do more demo impressions. Rate, subscribe, blah blah blah, and I hope everyone had a happy Easter. Yeah, bye bye.